Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Good morning, Vietnam!
You are great.
I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
My calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious...
You're listening to the 30-something movie podcast. Classic movies, 30 years in the making.
They're kind of messy. You always have to have a wet nap with you or some sort of cleaning apparatus.
I know.
This is going to be a super awkward way to come into the podcast because the first thing when the music starts to die down is people are going to hear Bo saying, and you always got to have a wet nap with you, or... uh-huh.
Just like walking through the school cafeteria,
Hey,
the stuff you hear, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Which reminds me...
Conversations out of context.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So maybe that's the next of the 5 questions. What would you use a wet nap for?
What wouldn't you use?
What wouldn't you use? Right. Oh, man. Okay. We're here. We're all here now.
Oh,
yo.
How are you?
I'm good.
Are you okay, Pat?
Yeah.
Are
The
you?
orange just squirted all over the place.
Okay. Yeah, it happens. This is the 30-something movie podcast. It's November. We're teachers. We're probably a little punchy. We probably need a few days off. It's coming.
Oh, yeah.
It's coming. It'll be here. And actually, it's by the time this episode comes out, we will have already enjoyed our Thanksgiving break.
Wow.
How was your Thanksgiving break, Pat?
Dude, great time. A lot of fun.
Added an inch to my waistline,
Nice.
the usual.
Wreck-It
Nice.
Ralph 2.
Yes. It was amazing.
Awesome.
I won't say specifically what was amazing because, frankly, I don't want to spoil it for people.
Don't want to spoil it for
Nope,
people.
Don't want to
It was
spoil it for
awesome.
people when it comes. I mean, after it came out. Cowboys and the Bears won. That was amazing. It was amazing.
You are an
I'm
optimistic bench that I could not
Optimistic.
match.
Yep.
That's
yep.
rough.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the difference is the Cowboys get to go back to Texas. So, aren't they the winners there?
I suppose that is true.
Some of our listeners might disagree, but it's okay. Everybody has the right to be wrong. All right. Well, this episode is A Fish Called Wanda. And this was not originally one of our episodes that we were going to be doing this year, but we did have some requests from some of the listeners. And after I realized that I was completely wrong on what movie this was, I was like, okay, we'll give it a try.
Okay, what movie did you think it was?
I thought it was Arthur.
Okay.
Because for some
The
reason...
dude with the sword?
No, not that dude.
No, not that.
No. You don't. Strange women lying in ponds distributing swords is no basis for a system of government.
Get over there, I shall taunt you a second time.
No, I was convinced that for some reason this was a Dudley Moore movie.
Got it.
And I have never been a fan of Dudley Moore. I just don't, I don't know. Something about the humor is just not, rubs me the wrong way. I guess is the right way to say it. So I was like, nope, Fish Called Wanda, not watching that one, not doing that one for the podcast. It's roughly the same way I feel about Woody Allen. Not a big fan of Woody Allen at all. So when Woody Allen movies come up, I kind of selfishly am like, yeah, no. I don't know if we're doing that for the podcast. Unless it was a really, really big one. Won't do those. So when I realized, wait a minute, Fish Called Wanda is not Arthur. It's not Dudley Moore. It's actually half of Monty Python. I was like, well... Okay, Jamie Lee Curtis, half of Monty Python, Kevin Kline, yes.
Exactly. How can you go wrong?
We're going to take a look at this movie because I had never seen it before, so so that's what we're doing. Yes, so this, just our real quick little spiel at the beginning here is we do spoil everything that we talk about, so if you don't want to be spoiled for this movie, this is probably not the right thing to listen to right now. Feel free to go watch the movie and then come on back and listen when you're done. Leave us a review on iTunes if you have not done that already. We would love to hear what you're enjoying about the show. And visit our website, 30podcast.com. That's a great place to find all kinds of other stuff related to our website and the movies we watch and upcoming stuff we're going to be doing. So there's that. I have with me this afternoon Pat Cantagallo.
Hey!
And Bo Warmbold.
Yo.
Welcome, everybody. And I'm your host, John Reed. And I think we're just going to jump on into This week in 88. So we are looking at the week, think about the week from November 29th to December 5th. And on December 1st, Zoe Kravitz, the daughter of Lenny Kravitz and Lisa Bonet from The Cosby Show, was born. December 12th, the Naked Gun movie premieres. So go a few episodes back. You can listen to that one we just did. And December 3rd, Barry Sanders from Oklahoma State wins the Heisman Trophy. The top book this time was still The Sands of Time by Sidney Sheldon. The top song for this week was Baby I Love Your Way / Freebird Medley by Will to Power. And the top movie was The Naked Gun. So that's this week in 88. Let's jump on ahead to our movie info for A Fish Called Wanda. A release date for this one was 5th of August, 1988. Rated R. Runtime of 1 hour and 48 minutes. Directed by Charles Crichton, who died in 1999. And uncredited directing on this one is John Cleese. Crichton also did a movie called Dead of Night. Produced by Michael Shamberg, who did Gattaca and The Big Chill. Writers for this one were John Cleese and Charles Crichton. Cleese obviously did Monty Python. Crichton did some movie called Floods of Fear. Cinematography by Alan Hume, who died in 2010. He did Return of the Jedi and several of the Roger Moore Bond movies. Music for this one was John Duprez, who did Time Bandits and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1 through 3. Budget for this one was $7.5 million. Box office was $62.5 million. Flickmetrics gives this an 81. Tomato meter. So last week we did Young Guns, and the critics' tomato meter score was something like a 42 for that one. I think it was something like pretty low for that one. Flickmetrics says that and I looked at Rotten Tomatoes just to make sure. Rotten Tomatoes critics give this one a 93%.
Wow.
We'll talk about it in just a minute, but
Are all the critics British?
Seems a bit high. Maybe. Audience rating for this one is an 84. IMDb gives it a 76. Letterboxd gives it a 74, and Metascore gives it an 80. Starring John Cleese as Archie Leach. He was in Monty Python and some of the newer Bond movies. Jamie Lee Curtis was Wanda Gershwitz. She was in Halloween and True Lies. Kevin Kline was Otto. He was in French Kiss and Dave. Michael Palin was Ken Pyle. He was in Monty Python and Time Bandits. Maria Atkin was Wendy. She was in Fierce Creatures, and Cynthia Cleese was Portia. She was also in Fierce Creatures. Here is the trailer, and we'll be back in just a second.
Otto is a man of many talents.
Hey, great fish. Oh, a little squeeze of lemon, some tartar sauce.
Ken is a man of few words.
Tell him from me.
George is the man with the plan.
13 millions, my friends.
And Wanda
Do you speak Italian?
Molto pericolosa.
is the woman they love. They all set out to commit the perfect crime.
To 20 million.
To a job well done.
But it turned into something
George moved the loot?
less than perfect.
Disappointed!
So they turned to a lawyer named
Archie Leash.
Leech. George is going to tell him what the diamonds are.
with Wanda as the bait.
I want you to make love with me.
Pop.
Nothing.
He's really hooked.
I thought you weren't jealous.
I'm not. I don't believe in jealousy. It's for the weak.
Come a girl as bright as you could have a brother who's so...
Don't call me stupid.
I'm really, really sorry. I apologize unreservedly.
Are you totally deranged?
We're friends here, old chap.
John Cleese,
Will you leave immediately, please?
Jamie Lee Curtis,
Kiss me there.
Kevin Kline,
Put the other one up.
Michael Palin.
May I kiss you, Ken?
No, you can't!
A Fish Called Wanda. A smashing
Oh, dear.
comedy.
This is like half the cast of Monty Python. I had never seen this movie before, but as soon as I figured out what this movie actually was, I was like, wait a minute, it's got John Cleese and Michael Palin. Yes, please. Let's watch this one right away.
Right.
So, had either of you seen this one before? Pat, I don't
I
think
had
you
not.
did.
No.
Oh, yeah.
You'd seen this before. Okay. All right. So let's start with the good news. Bo, let's start with you.
Okay.
So, how do you feel about this movie? Does
I
it make
like
you warm
this
and fuzzy inside?
I don't know, warm and fuzzy, but
Okay.
it combines a lot of the things I love. I love heist movies. I love Monty Python. I'm a big Kevin Kline fan. There's a lot of good for me in this movie. So I love it. It's one I hadn't seen in a long time. It's been years since I saw it. But it's just, it's another one. It's a lot like last week's Young Guns. It was fun. It's like, okay, planning a heist. I'm in. And Jamie Lee Curtis is pulling everybody's strings.
It's very British.
Yes.
I always like the his wife Wendy in this movie is just like the epitome of a stereotypical British housewife kind of character, like a posh British housewife type character, very very stodgy. For our British friends across the ocean, I'm not saying that you're all stodgy. I'm just saying that in terms of a caricature of a stodgy. No, I love British people. I love black people. Show me the money. I'm quoting a movie.
I know, but you were just off on a tangent over there.
This entire thing is a tangent. Life is a tangent.
Ooh, now see, there
deep.
you go.
It's getting deep.
He had to do that.
Yeah. Speaking of deep, Pat, how did you feel about this movie?
So, there are different kinds of NFL quarterbacks out there, I've been told. A little bit. There's the gunslingers, okay? They're going to maybe make the really great plays, or they're going to maybe just throw the interception.
And then there's the pugilists.
Okay, and then there's the pugilists, right? You and I. Right, John? That's right. You and I. So there's the gunslingers, right? Then you get the quarterbacks that are just like stinking fantastic. The Aaron Rodgers, the Drew Brees, the Tom Brady's that like you might be 10 scores down and they'll find a way to bring it back. You know, like we got to go watch these guys because they're at the top. And then there's the game managers, you know. And this is all what I've been told. I've never played the position or football myself. That's what I'm told. The game managers, they're good. They can't be bad, but they can't turn the ball over, okay? They won't necessarily come from behind. They won't necessarily maybe get you all the way to the Super Bowl. But they won't cause any problems either, right? They'll keep the game going. They maybe get you down the field.
Serviceable.
Yeah, they'll run the clock down. If you need to get in field goal range, they can do that. It's really, they will take care of things. Very good at that, but it's not, you know.
It's like what people said about Ron Howard when he took over for Solo.
Yeah.
They're like, Ron Howard. A lot of the opinions were like, he's not avant-garde. He's not, you know, a trendsetter. He's Ron Howard.
Right.
He will make a movie for you that will be good.
Yeah. And so that's kind of how I feel. Well, and I get what, I mean, I know what some people are saying. Now, I'm more like Ron Howard's movies I like more than I like this one. So that one, that's where I kind of like that one. But that's how I feel about this movie. Yeah. It wasn't like this, whoa, this is pretty crazy awesome. But it did what it did, and there were entertaining bits. And so, I mean, I'm not going to, by any means, I'm not going to call it a bad movie. But it didn't quite do much more than, oh, okay, cool. There's a funny gag. Okay, those guys are entertaining. Yeah. Oh, it's fun to see this guy, like, okay, that's cool, you know, but...
I know, you and I were talking about this earlier, so I know one of the parts that I thought was really funny kind of fell flat for you.
Yeah.
Oh, man. When you find out what I was going to talk about, the fell flat part is going to be kind of punny. The very kind of British Monty Python thing of they're trying to kill the woman, but they keep killing her dogs.
Right.
Yeah. And, and you kind of, after the first time that happens, you know what's going to happen next after they had the first funeral for the first dog and they go through all that stuff. And it took me a minute to realize that older woman was Finn Rizal from Willow.
Really?
Oh, wow.
It took me, I kept saying, I'm like, she looks so familiar. And it would have been, I mean, this one would have been a year after, probably a year after. Around the time Willow came out, so pretty close to it. But I kept looking at her, I'm like, she looks really familiar. I cannot place where it is, and it took me a minute, and then I finally figured out that's who she was. But, but yeah, that part I just thought was hilarious. Like his constant trying to assassinate this woman, so they get rid of the witness, and it fails miserably every time, and in some highly elaborate way. Yeah. It keeps killing her dogs. Yeah. And then eventually, she taken out by, she had a heart attack? Wasn't that what it was?
Yeah.
It's been a few, I watched this a few weeks ago, and now I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but I think it was a heart attack. And then he takes the credit for it. He's like, I did it! Yeah. I did it! Yeah. That part I thought was really funny. I know when you and I were talking earlier, you're like, yeah, and they kept killing dogs.
Yeah, I know.
It wasn't funny.
And I'm sure maybe someone would say, oh, you got to understand British humor. And okay, but it's like, I kind of like, I like Monty Python stuff. I mean, I love the Top Gear show, and there's a lot of British humor in there. And or what's it now, American Tour, or whatever it is. But In any event. And, it wasn't, like, offensive.
Right.
But...
Yeah, when I try to think of like particular scenes in this movie that really jumped out, because like I said, I had not seen this movie before. First time watching it, kind of my impression was same thing. It was like, this is not. Maybe if I had grown up watching this, like Bo, you said you'd watch this several times. Did you watch it like closer to when it came out? Obviously, probably not as like a really young kid, but
yeah, probably not. I probably didn't see it till. It was probably right around the time I first saw any Monty Python. So it was probably a few years after it came out.
Okay.
And this wouldn't even have been the first Monty Python I was exposed to. I would have been exposed to the more traditional ones, and then realized, oh, there's this other one. What is this? And then
because not technically Monty Python, but just having John Cleese and
if John Cleese and Michael Palin are in it, it might as well be freaking Monty Python.
It's Monty.
Exactly.
Right. No Python, but Monty.
Not the full Monty.
Not the full Monty.
That's a whole nother
very
deal.
different movie.
Yeah.
Different movie.
Very different movie. Different movie. Yes. So watching this one, I was like, it is funny. It's funny. There are lots of funny parts to this movie.
That is humor. I recognize
that. Yeah. But I think maybe had I grown up watching this, or had I watched this more and was coming back to it later in life, it might have been funnier for me. But seeing this the first time, I was like, yeah, that was a good comedy. Yeah, I'm not blown away by it. It's by no means going on any of like my top whatever lists or anything like that. But and when I watch it again, if it was on somewhere, I don't know if I'd seek it out. But I saw it once, and having seen it once, I'm like, yeah, it's funny. It's a good movie. But it's not one of those that I'm like, I need to watch this every like year or every 2 years, or it's not a rotation movie for me that I'm like, oh, I got to go back to that and make sure I check it out again within the next few years. But I love John Cleese, like you were saying. I love John Cleese. I love Monty Python, Michael Palin. We were watching, it was a few months ago, I found at the library, I remember watching it as a kid, and I think it came out when we were still living in the States before my family moved over to England. Monty Python did I think it was for PBS or the BBC, did a Around the World in 80 Days. Where he tried to follow the path of the fictional story of Around the World in 80 Days. He tried to follow the same path and tried to travel that same, tried to circumnavigate the globe without using air travel. So he was trying to do like boats and rail.
And this was who?
Michael Palin.
Michael Palin.
The one in the movie who had the stutter.
Right.
And so, and it's hilarious. That show it's very dry British humor, and he is like the utmost British traveler. Like but he goes to all these different places, and he tries to go to places that are not touristy places. Like when he gets to Venice, in order to see the city, like he doesn't go hit up the museums and the different historical landmarks. He finds these guys that are working on a garbage barge that they just go along the canals, and they just grab people's garbage buckets off the side and throw it on their barge. And he's like, well, this is a good way to see the city. So he hops on the barge with them and is helping them collect the garbage and everything. It's like he's riding on a garbage truck, but through Venice. And so he kind of does stuff like that. Or when he's on some of these ships, he'll hang out with the crew and he'll talk to them, and just really fun show. Like a lot of it's got several parts to it. I won't say whether or not he makes it in the 80 days, but he does have a task of he's got to collect certain items from certain parts of the world that he goes to, and then he's got to make it back to London within 80 days to see if he can do it. So
got it.
It is fun. It is a fun show. The kids enjoyed it, even though it's a little bit older. I think maybe it came out in 89, maybe. So yeah, it's good. And then I think he did some others after that. He started doing a whole bunch of travel shows. So he's got some good travel shows out there too. But I love every actor that's in this movie. Like every single one of these actors. I love these actors. I will go watch their movies. And it just, I think if I'm going to see John Cleese and Michael Palin, if you gave me the option, I would just be like, I'm going to go watch a Monty Python movie. Nothing against this movie, but if you just said, you want to see John Cleese and Michael Palin? I'm like, yes, I do. Life of Brian.
Yes, I
Holy Grail, I will, or Flying Circus. I'll put on some of that stuff. So, no, nothing wrong at all with this movie. Same as you, Bo. I'm like, I love heist movies. I love British humor. I love these actors. Like all of the different things that add up to this movie. Like these are all the things that I enjoy about movies.
And Jamie Lee Curtis.
And Jamie Lee Curtis is also fine as well.
Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so it was I enjoyed it. It was great. It was funny, but it's not, it's not blowing my socks off. No, I'm not going to be. I have to watch this like once a year or once every month, kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's not appointment television, but it is fun when it's on.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see this as if it was on TV, like I'd stop and watch it.
Oh sure, sure. Especially if you catch a funny part, like when they're working on the dogs.
Mm-hmm. And I appreciate that the last. Of the last, 3 movies we've watched for the podcast, 2 feature somebody being run over by a steamroller.
Yeah.
I was going to say, that was one of the questions.
That was one of our 5 questions, yeah. So I appreciate the consistency in the 80s steamroller killing the villain trope.
You got to hold on to that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, well, before we get to our 5 questions for this one, do you guys have anything else you want to say about A Fish Called Wanda? Did you have a favorite scene? Did we talk about... I don't think we talked about favorite scenes, or is there a favorite quote from the... I think I'm going to go with the. The different attempts to kill the old woman.
Yeah.
And having the dogs die.
I was going to say Kevin Kline eating the fish.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny.
That's a good one. John Cleese naked in the people's house.
Yeah, that was kind of fun.
That was good. We've rented it for the week.
What are you doing here?
What are you doing here? Yeah. Who are you?
Mm-hmm.
You're the barrister. Oh dear.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a favorite scene, but again, please don't interpret that as like it was all that. No, it was fine. It just nothing really stood out.
Yeah, that's fine.
And again, but don't. I mean,
this movie is very classically enhanced or fails depending on the mood you're in. Like if you're in a goofy, silly mood, it's like any Monty Python, really.
Right.
If you're in a silly mood, it's gonna tickle your fancy and everything's gonna be great. Mm-hmm. If you're just like, whatever, I gotta sit down and watch this.
Yeah.
You have to be ready for that type of humor almost. I've always felt mentally prepared for it. I don't know a better way to say it, but.
Yeah, and so that's all. I mean, again, please don't take that as dismissive of it by any means.
No.
Yeah.
No, I mean you just offended the British people. But
I'm sorry, British people. Dunkirk's one of my favorite movies.
Okay.
There you go.
Sorry, British people. I mean,
okay, so that being the case, shall we move on to 5 questions?
Sure.
Let's move on to 5 questions.
He asks each traveler 5 questions.
It's impossible to answer.
Impossible because you don't know the answer.
Nobody could answer that question.
You've got to ask yourself one question.
What are you asking me for? I don't know.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
For those playing at home, 5 questions. These are 5 questions that may or may not relate to the movie. Well, they do relate to the movie in some way. Sometimes it's a bit of a stretch, but that's okay. We're all friends here. We don't criticize people's question creation. Or if we do, we don't ever get asked to be back on the podcast ever again.
Plenty of things to criticize. We don't need to deal with that.
Sure. Yeah, no. That's just way more important things in life. So I have 5 questions here. I'm going to give each of us 30 seconds to answer each of these 5 questions. 3 questions. And we'll go from there. That one is particularly appropriate this time since half of our cast here is from Monty Python. All right, so let me put 30 seconds on the clock, and I will start the clock after I read the first question. And the first question, let's see, let's start with Bo on this first question. Bo, what is your favorite Monty Python skit?
Jeez.
I know.
I was hoping you'd start with somebody else, because then they'd take a couple of mine, and I wouldn't have to worry about which one to pick.
And this can be Flying Circus or movies.
But I'm going to have to say... The Black Knight.
Now stand aside, worthy adversary.
'Tis but a scratch.
A scratch? Your arm's off.
No, it isn't.
Well, what's that then?
I've heard worse.
You liar.
Come on, you pansy.
The Black Knight always triumphs.
'Tis but a flesh wound. You've got no legs. You know, the usual.
Oh, man.
Black Knight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good one.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man. All the movies. Love all the movies. Okay. What?
Oh, I thought that
Did
was
I
going to
just
be your answer.
No.
I thought it was going to be like, wait, we got to narrow it down, and he's going to say all the movies.
yeah.
Like, wait a minute.
Yes,
hold on.
that's my answer. I reject my own question again.
I thought that was going to be your answer. I was
No,
okay.
yeah.
I reject your premise and substitute my own.
Right. Well, the problem is...
Wait, it was your premise.
I
Damn.
know. The problem is I wrote down 5 different answers to this question, and I was like, I got to have 5 just in case somebody else takes my answer. But at the same time, I'm like, there are probably about 13 other skits or scenes from the movies that I could write down here, and any one of them would be equally fine. So, Patrick, favorite Monty Python skit from either the show or the movies?
I know the movies better than the show, and I know the Holy Grail best of all.
Mm-hmm.
The Charge of Sir Lancelot. I love that. You know, just the camera film where it's the same thing.
Yes.
I just remember rewinding that over and over, and then ha-ha, and he's right there. I mean, yes, yeah, I like that. Or the stay here and guard the prince.
Make sure the prince doesn't leave this room until I come and get him.
Not to leave the room, even if you come and get him.
No, until I come and get him.
Until you come and get him, we're not to enter the room.
No. You stay in the room and make sure he doesn't leave.
And you'll come and get him.
Right.
We don't need to do anything apart from just stop him entering the room.
No. Leaving the room.
Leaving the room, yes.
All right?
Right. Oh, if we...
Look, it's quite simple. You just stay here and make sure he doesn't leave the room. All right?
Oh, I remember. Can he leave the room with us?
No. You just keep him in here and make sure...
Oh, yes, we'll keep him in here, obviously. But if he had to leave and we were with him...
Just keep him in here.
Until you or anyone else...
No, not anyone else, just me.
Just you.
Get back.
Get back.
Right?
Right, we'll stay here until you get back.
And make sure he doesn't leave.
What?
Make sure he doesn't leave.
The prince?
Yes, make sure he doesn't leave.
Oh, yes, of course. I thought you meant him. You know, it seemed a bit daft me having to guard him when he's a guard.
Is that clear?
Oh, quite clear, no problems.
Right. Where are you going?
We're coming with you.
Mm-hmm.
That might be because sometimes that's like what it is teaching junior high kids.
Yes.
You know, you explain it, and it's just...
Mm-hmm.
You can reference it. Like, you'll be talking...
Where are you going? We're going with you.
Yeah.
No, you stay here.
No. And there's times like I'll be talking to other teachers and it'll be like, no, I'm trying to describe like a teacher's adults. I'll be like, finally I'll just go, no, I want you to stay here and guard the princess. And if they know what I'm talking about, then they'll be like, okay, all right, you know. But I mean, it's like, I would say those two. But it's just like, I've had that with colleagues. You know, where you get to that point and it's, whoa, that sounds like maybe what your day today was. You know, so, yeah.
Okay, so my answer, like I said, I wrote down a whole bunch of stuff, but I think my answer has to be... Oh, I hate this. I'm going to go with Holy Grail, and I'm going to go with the... And I'm trying to remember if it's it's not a combined scene. I'm either going to... Bunny Rabbit.
The Holy
Rabbit. The Holy Hungry Book of Armament. And the Lord spake, saying... I mean, just that entire movie.
Too late. There he is. Where? There. What, behind the rabbit? There is the rabbit. You silly sod! What? You got us all worked up! Well, that's no ordinary rabbit. That's the most foul, cruel, and bad-tempered rodent you ever set eyes on.
You tit! I saw my arm and I was so scared.
Look, that rabbit's got a vicious streak a mile wide. It's a killer.
Get stuck.
He'll do you a treat, mate.
Oh, yeah? Manky Scots git.
I'm warning you.
What's he do? Nibble your bum?
He's got huge, sharp... he can leap about... Look at the bones!
Go on, boys, chop its head off.
Right, silly little bleeder. One rabbit stew coming right up.
Look! Jesus Christ! I warned you.
I've done it again.
I warned you, but did you listen to me? Oh, no, you knew it all, didn't you? Oh, it's just a harmless little bunny, isn't it? Well, it's always the same. I always tell them, do they listen to me?
Right.
Oh, no.
Well, any of their movies, but that one and Life of Brian in particular, but that entire movie, there are just little comments.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I've said before, there are things that I think some people, there are lines in movies that I think some people don't catch. And those are the lines that I burst out laughing. Like things like when God comes down and tells them that he's going to give them a quest. They should go seek out the Grail. And King Arthur says, "Good idea, Lord." Of course it's a good idea. And just the French guys in the castle.
I know.
Fetch la bouche. Fetch la vache. Quoi? Fetch la vache.
Here's one. When he says, "Who are you? I am Arthur, son of Uther Pendragon. You're the rightful seeker of the Holy Grail. Who is the other one? I am." And this is my, like, that's how we had, who's the other one? I am. I don't know why that cracks me up so much. You know?
Well, and the scene in particular, like, what I was trying to decide was, is the rabbit and the Bridge of Doom, like, were they close enough that I could count them as, no, they're not.
No, Bridge of Doom, its own sketch, man.
Oh, man. It's 3 questions. It's 5 of them. He asks everyone 5 questions. 3 questions. And then they get up there and he's like, whoever shall cross the Bridge of Death must answer me this question 3, ere the other side they see. What is your name? Sir Lancelot of Camelot. What is your quest? To seek the Grail. What is your favorite color? Blue. Oh, right, off you go then. Oh, thank you. And then, that's easy.
Yeah.
What is your name? What is your quest? Seek the Grail. What is the capital of Assyria? I don't know.
Yeah.
I made sure I looked it up. It's Nineveh.
There you go.
So if I ever have to cross the Bridge of Death,
my honorable mention sketch has to be, I never wanted to be a weather forecaster.
I wanted to be a lumberjack. Leaping from tree to tree as they float down the mighty rivers of British Columbia. The giant redwood, the larch, the fir, the mighty Scots pine. The smell of fresh-cut timber, the crash of mighty trees. With my best girlie by my side, we'd sing, sing, sing. I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay. I sleep all night, I work all day.
He's a lumberjack and he's okay. He sleeps all night and he works all day.
I cut down trees, I eat my lunch, I go to the lavatory. On Wednesdays I go shopping and have buttered scones for tea.
He cuts down trees, he eats his lunch, he goes to the lavatory. On Wednesdays he goes shopping and has buttered scones for tea. He's a lumberjack and he's okay. He sleeps all night and he works all day.
I cut down trees, I skip and jump, I like to press wildflowers. I put on women's clothing and hang around in bars.
He cuts down trees, he skips and jumps, he likes to press wildflowers.
I want to be
a lumberjack.
A lumberjack! Or Spam.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My other ones were the cheese shop that has no cheese. Dead Parrot.
Dead Parrot is... God, did you see the special on the... They did a Fathom event thing a couple years back. It was like Monty Python at 30 or something.
Oh, really?
And they redid a bunch of the old sketches.
Oh, did they really?
Oh, my God.
No, I didn't see that one.
Died.
Oh,
it was so good.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Say
no more.
Say no more.
What kind of photos would she pose in? Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Say no more, say no more. It's one of those other kind of, like, the lines that I don't know if they get huge laughs, but, like, I will burst out laughing no matter how many times I've seen this. There are some who call me Tim.
Yes.
And my absolute favorite, let's just say that if you have children in the car, maybe fast forward or turn down the volume for, like, I don't know, 30 seconds. Ready, go.
Now.
I have a very good friend in Rome. His name is Biggus. Dickus. What are you laughing at, soldier? Do you find something funny? He has a wife, you know. It's a joke name, sir.
Yes.
What? It's a joke name, sir. Like Cilius Sawdust. I have a very good friend in Rome. Okay. Question number 2. Did we get everybody?
I think we got
everybody.
Covered that one.
Otherwise, we're just going to keep quoting all
Yeah, I was going to say, how
from
30
now until ever. Pat, favorite heist movie?
That one's hard.
Heat. Okay.
I'll go back and I use the one from last week.
The one from last week.
I just that is just a fantastic movie.
Okay.
Right on.
And I can yeah.
Bo.
You stumbled on a category for me, man.
Yeah, I know. There's our 300th
big old jerk.
I listed like 5 movies, and I was like, I can't narrow it down.
So it's one of those things that kind of depends on my mood. So I'm gonna name the one that popped to mind first, and then I'm gonna throw out an honorable mention. But then I'm gonna let John do his, and then I might come back and name a couple. And this is only top of mind because I just listened to another podcast about this movie where they ripped it to shreds, and I love this movie, so I hate them for it. Kelly's Heroes.
Okay.
Such a fun movie. And the problem is the podcast that ripped it up, I really like the podcast, and they were 100% correct about everything they said.
Okay.
I still love the movie and don't care.
Okay, good.
But they were very correct about everything they said that was wrong with that movie.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay. I'm looking at my list here, trying to decide which one I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with... I'm going to go with Inception.
Nice.
With Inception. Because I had listed out a whole bunch of different movies. I was considering Rogue One a heist movie.
Sure.
Baby Driver, heist movie. Mission Impossible, even.
Obviously.
Ocean's 11.
Ocean's 11 made my list, both of them.
So I had
the
all
original,
those.
if you've never seen it, is fantastic.
The only reason that I'm choosing Inception over all of those is because I think Inception... I think it did some things that the other heist movie... Because you've got your heist movies and you're like, yeah, it's a heist movie. I know what's going to happen in this heist movie. But I think Inception also took things that I love about sci-fi and horror movies and blended that in with the heist movie. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Not only is this a heist movie, but we're messing with time and we're messing with reality. So it's almost like it's a cross between an Ocean's 11 and The Matrix and... I don't even know what else, but it mixed together so many things that I enjoy, and the soundtrack. Like, I love that soundtrack. Sometimes I will just sit and listen to that soundtrack over and over, especially the piece when they are trying to get out of the dream, when they're in the 3 levels. You've seen Inception, right? Yeah. When they're trying to get out of the 3 levels, and it's the dun dun. trying to get out of each of the progressive levels, and that piece of music that's on my Halloween playlist to play. I was thinking that's a good Halloween piece of music, but so that's probably the reason I would choose Inception over those others. Do I think Inception's any better than Ocean's 11 or no? But I think Inception is just a different enough movie for me that's why I would pick it in this case. That was way more than 30 seconds.
We know.
But that's okay. All right. So this one will take more than 30 seconds. So
Sneakers.
Oh,
was on my list. Reservoir Dogs.
Okay. Yeah.
And The Italian Job.
Italian Job. Mm-hmm. Gone in 60 Seconds.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, right?
I want to see it now.
Ring Failure.
Yeah.
I mean, that movie just, that was, does Dirty Dozen count as a heist movie? No. Does it?
Kinda.
Dang.
Yeah, kinda.
So, yeah.
That's the fun part about the heist movie category is
Mm-hmm.
the heist movie as a place. Like, you can do a heist movie anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's such a great category and such a great, like...
Yeah,
so good.
And then Where Eagles Dare. I mean, I don't know, because that... and then, I'm sorry, I just thought of something. It could be any category. Shoot. Firefox. With Clint Eastwood, where he has to sneak into Russia and steal the super secret jet.
Totally. Yeah.
You've never seen it?
I have not seen Firefox.
It has been years. Okay. It's good.
I will put it on the watch list.
Yeah, heist movie.
300th episode.
Heist movie's a fun, fun category to play in, for sure.
I like, too, the message that comes in the heist movies, and it seems to be now, maybe it's, well, no, because these are old movies. I like that now that you assemble a team, and, everyone has a role that they play in the heist movies. And, I mean, I know I'm sorry to be the peace, love, and harmony person here, but it's no longer like the one guy that just does everything right. Okay, this guy might not be very good at anything, except for this. He can do this kind of, and that's his job, and you need that guy to do that job. Then someone else might not be the best at, but this guy can do this kind of thing. Now, that's really good. He's the big, strong, kick the door down guy. Well, that's not good. And that's what I like the heist movies, that you get a variety. It's a team, and, everybody...
And let's be honest, the half hour, 45 minutes they take assembling the team is sometimes the most fun.
Oh, yeah.
Because you go to goofy places to find some of these characters.
Yeah.
I've been on a mall rats kick for the last couple days.
No kidding.
That could be a heist movie.
Sure.
Because they're trying to get the VHS tape and then hook up the whole thing with and sabotage the. It's a bit of a stretch, but
a little bit.
I'm not going to limit this one to 30 seconds. I mean, maybe a minute, just so we don't go way over our time. But question number 3. This could take a little bit longer to tell your story if you've got one. If you've ever done it, do you have a favorite memory of going fishing? Bo.
Not a lot in my life.
Okay.
So no, I don't really have a favorite memory, but I will say there is something very serene and peaceful about being out on a boat with nothing else to do but stare at a fishing line and do nothing else. I mean, But
have you ever eaten fish raw?
Does sushi count?
No, maybe when they're still alive and wriggling.
No, that is not a thing I am signing up for.
Okay, all right. I was just curious.
No.
Have you ever gone fishing?
I've gone fishing.
You've gone fishing. Do you have a good fishing story?
I caught one.
Actually, my story has to do with catching one this big.
Yeah, I mean, there's stories like that, and just fun times with my dad and growing up and all that kind of stuff. And we go out on the water a whole lot, but we just tend to go out and other activities on the water than fishing. But yeah, there's times that I've gone out and it's been fun and all that kind of stuff. No big special crazy stories, but just good memories of growing up and doing all that kind of thing.
So my grandpa loved to go fishing. Actually, both my grandfathers loved to go fishing, and I would go with both of them. I'd go a lot whenever we'd go to their house. And the one in particular we had down in Texas, they had a kind of like a little catfish stream that they had. It was stocked with catfish, and he really loved catfish to eat, fried catfish. And so we would go there sometimes. We'd fish, and this was kind of a spot where a whole bunch of people would go and fish from time to time. And as a kid, I'll introduce this part of the story because it's very important for later. As a little kid, I was terrified of dogs. I had been chased by some dogs in the neighborhood when I was a little kid, so I was terrified of dogs. Didn't want to have anything to do with them. So I was fishing with my grandpa one time. We were at this catfish farm, stream type thing, and we were out there, and we'd been fishing for a while, and I think we'd gotten maybe like 1 or 2 little fish, and so we're out there doing our thing. We're waiting, and all of a sudden I hear a dog bark, and I was probably and I wasn't like super young. I was probably 8 or 9, so I wasn't like a little kid, but I was still terrified of dogs after what had happened. And so I hear this dog bark, and I immediately, just in the irrational phobia of dogs, I made a beeline for the porta potties, because that was the only place that I knew that had a spot where I could close myself in. And so I just started running. And it was not too far away from where my grandpa and I had our fishing lines. And all of a sudden, just as I start running, something starts pulling on my line. And my grandpa kind of sets his down and starts to grab mine, and he starts trying to reel it in. And he's like, "John, get back here!" And he's trying, and this is a big old cat, and this thing's fighting him the whole, "Get back here, I need help!" And I go, "No, dogs, no." And so I refused to come back. And so he's trying to pull this thing in. And eventually he does finally pull it in, with no help from me. And it turned out it was a 6-pound catfish. It was the biggest one that we'd ever caught in that whole stream that they had. And and then he was funny about it, because then he didn't say anything about, he knew I was afraid of dogs, so he didn't say much about that. But the best part of this story is he took it home and skinned it and cleaned it and cooked it, but he kept the head. And this thing had a big old catfish head on it. And he took that, and I think he and my grandma were watching us at the time, so my mom and dad were either out of town or they were somewhere. He took that, and he decided he thought it would be funny to take that catfish head and tie it up in the branches of our tree in the backyard. Every cat in the neighborhood decided that our house was going to be the house to come to.
Well, sure.
And my mom came back from wherever they were, later that night or the next day or something, and she freaked out. Why there was a catfish head tied to a branch of one of her trees.
Yeah.
Why cats were hanging around all over the place, and she just was not happy with him at all. But
that's funny.
So, but that was the.
That's a good one, man.
That was the catfish that I did not help with, because I was terrified of dogs. All right, question number 4, and we'll go back to our 30 seconds for this one. Favorite Jamie Lee Curtis role, Pat?
True Lies is pretty fun.
Okay.
There's probably a host of stuff that she's in that I'm like, oh yeah, she's in that, she's in that, and that. But I mean, that would be the first one that comes to mind. True Lies.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Bo.
Pat is not wrong. True Lies is solid. I actually really love what she did on New Girl as what's her name's mother.
Okay. I've never seen
Zooey Deschanel's mother. She played this just character. I can't even really describe it. I just remember thinking, well, that's fun. You're enjoying this role, and she wasn't on the series much in the 4 years it was on TV, but it was a great recurring character for her, I think.
Cool.
Nice. I'm going to be the boring one and say yes, True Lies. That was my answer. It was. Yeah. I didn't even.
It's a great role for her.
I didn't even have to think about
when that switch flips and she becomes the spy, and it's just awesome.
And that whole movie is just fun, even regardless of Jamie Lee Curtis. But she just has a great character in that movie when she realizes what's going on, and at first when she thinks she knows what's going on, but not really, and yeah. All right. Last question. Do you speak Italian, Pat?
No, I got a couple of words down, but
are they words you can't share on the podcast?
No, I don't know really any of those words, but no. A couple words, and they're not pronounced very well.
Okay.
Yeah. One of my goals in life, I'll learn Italian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Even with a name like Cantagallo?
Yeah, even with a name like Cantagallo.
No Italian?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
Few words, that's about it. My sister speaks Italian.
Okay.
Yeah, she's...
How many of the Italian words that you know are not related to music?
Oh, see, that's... Okay, yeah, that's fine. It's all like motorcycles.
Oh, okay.
Right,
well, yes.
That works too.
But yeah, so I know the Italian words with the music and all that, but yeah.
Okay. Bo, do you speak Italian?
No, I got nothing. Unless you count the random scusi that I'll throw out every once in a while.
Uh-huh.
That's all I got.
No, no Italian relatives that tell you to mangia.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. But not, you know.
Yeah. So it's funny.
Do you?
I mean, like a couple phrases here and there,
Wow.
which is like stuff that either I've jokingly looked up over the years or we've gone to Italy a couple times. When we lived over in England, we had gone to Italy a couple times, and actually when we were in Milan, one time we went over to somebody that my dad was working with from their Milan office. We went over to their family's house for dinner, and they had little kids, like babies. And so we didn't really have anybody, my sister and I didn't really have anybody to play with. My brother was really little at the time. And so the mother and father, the Italian mother and father, were talking to my mom and dad, and they were just hanging out, having a good time. My sister and I were like, these people don't have any, like, they have baby toys. There's nothing here to keep us occupied. And so we switched on the TV. We spent the next hour and a half watching Star Trek 3 in Italian. It was outstanding.
Right on.
Mm-hmm.
That's
it was
cool.
outstanding. Mm-hmm. So there's that, and the only Italian that I know, I looked up the phrase for "no, I don't speak Italian," and it's "no, non parlo italiano," so I can say that.
There you go.
I can also say, and I got this from what's his name, John Panette.
Solo affamato.
Solo affamato is the "feed me, I'm starving," which I think is just like translated, "I'm hungry."
Yes.
But so I used to teach when John was a little guy, like barely even talking yet. I used to tell him, because we originally started by teaching him sign language.
Sure.
Like, because babies can do sign
That's
language
like
before
the
they
new
can
thing
talk.
now.
So,
Like both of my nieces did that.
So we tell them, we'd show them, like, this is the sign for.
I did not at
if you-
that age.
No.
Just saying.
my sign language was to grab things.
Right.
Yeah. Dominic got.
Mine was more like Incredible Hulk language. And not so much sign language.
Dominic or Danielle would get like the wrong signs, and we finally figured out like what's hungry, like this is food.
Hungry.
Oh, hungry.
Yeah,
but
when you
then
put your
what's
hand in your
this?
mouth.
More?
More is
No,
this.
more's this.
When you
This
put your
is,
fingers together like that, more
Well,
is.
all of a sudden, this became more food,
Okay.
and it was like,
It was total operant conditioning. It had nothing to do with
and
anything
it just
else.
worked because it would just be like they would just be raising holy hell, and it would just be this, and we're just like, what is that? I don't know. Did we give him food? I was like, okay, that's it. From now on, this means food.
You want a utensil to write on? What are you trying to say?
Yeah, I don't know how many
Get him a slate.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, so no, as when he would start talking, but only still knew a few words here and there, I would start teaching him. I was like, buddy, you remember this means more. Remember, this means food and this means milk. Okay, if you want something now, if you want food, you have to say, sono affamato. He's putting his hands together for like more and food.
Awesome.
And he's like, no, sono affamato. He just like stare at me and throw something at me, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna learn this.
Yeah,
we're gonna learn this.
pops.
And yeah. So I think I got him to do it a couple of times, but yeah.
Daniela now, come to think of it, Dominic would just, this became food, but now this is milk.
Milk, yeah.
Okay, and then this.
Like you're milking a cow.
Yeah, milking a cow, right, okay. And then that just meant just food or anger.
That's past the salt.
Yeah, that just meant food or just anger, because she would just do the sign for milk and just glare at you, and then you would hand her milk, and then she would like bat it away and just keep doing this.
It was more like somebody doing those like hand exercise things.
It was the anger, and it would be like,
are you asking for milk? No.
Oh yeah,
absolutely not.
Yeah, I know. Bat it away, and then we would give her like something to eat, and then it would be okay. And then all of a sudden, this would start up again. And it was like, do you want more food? That'd get batted away. So now there's Cheerios all over the floor. It was like, now maybe you want the milk. Okay,
Now it's
so
a
now we want
muscle
the milk.
spasm.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
When does sign language become a muscle spasm?
Got particularly awkward when she started flipping a coin.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Calling you Mr. Pink.
Uh-huh. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for... I'm like,
whoa.
Speaking of
That's
knocking
a new
things off
one.
the table, I almost knocked the microphone off the table here. That's going to do it for A Fish Called Wanda. And if you have anything, if you totally disagree with us, if you love A Fish Called Wanda and we have disparaged your favorite movie ever by saying we don't love it, I don't think we did. No, but if you were like insanely obsessed with this movie, we would love to hear from you. If you're not insanely obsessed, we'd still love to hear from you. Either way,
hear from you.
We'd just like to hear from you.
If you're obscenely never mind.
If you're obscenely, it's late. It's okay.
Damn it.
It's been a long day. Is that milk or is that I'm going to kill you?
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
He's going to kill me with milk.
It's either I want milk or you fall asleep before I do.
That's right.
All right, so if you want to find out more about our show, you can go to 30podcast.com. You can do @30podcast on Twitter. That's where we do a lot of our posting. We're also on Facebook and Instagram and all those different places. If you want to call the voicemail line, it's 872-356-6843. So feel free to do that if you'd like to be included on the 30 Podcast Love Line. Our next episodes, so that's the end of November, gentlemen.
Wow,
end
we made
of
it.
November. We made it through
November
November.
is over, man.
Yeah. So next up, here's the docket for December.
Mm-hmm.
Scrooged is next week. Ernest Saves Christmas is after that. Die Hard is after that. And then Aquaman will finish out the year for us. So
it's a pretty good end of the year, boys.
So
I'm
looking forward to it.
Of that list, obviously I haven't seen Aquaman before.
Right.
But other than that, everything on that list is appointment. Yeah, it's appointment watching. Not as much Ernest. Ernest doesn't get an every year bill.
Yeah.
But the other ones.
Ernest, even though I haven't seen that one in several years, I did, for some reason a while back, I was looking for something on YouTube, and through whatever I was looking at, I came across the scene where he's driving Santa Claus in his car. And it's just that whole conversation of, well, because I'm Santa Claus. Oh, you're Santa Claus. Okay. Yes. Said he's Santa Claus. All right. Well, good for you. Yeah. No, I remember loving that movie as a kid, and I think I liked Ernest Saves Christmas more than I liked Ernest Goes to Camp.
I think that was the first one I saw.
Saves Christmas?
I think it was Saves Christmas, and
Okay.
then I went back and saw Saves Camp.
Yeah.
Goes to Camp.
Save it, go to it, whichever. So that's coming up. So if you want to watch these movies before we get to them on the podcast, Scrooged will be next week. Ernest Saves Christmas, Die Hard, and then Aquaman. And then we've got our 89 movies are coming up very, very soon.
It's a very good year.
Oh man.
It's the year we're waiting for 5 years.
Very good year. Should I tease the people a little bit? Should I tease them a little bit and tell them what our first month is? No, I'm not asking for milk from the people or telling them that I'm going to kill them with a
I'm going to crunch my candy bar.
blunt instrument. You crunch your candy bar, that's fine. So I think we've determined what our first month of movies is going to be. There's a fifth week in January, so I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do with that fifth week, because one of the movies I had thought of doing and having a little bit of trouble finding a copy of, so we'll just see. But
Which one is that? Or you want to say?
The Killer. I think it's a Chow Yun-Fat movie. So I'm having a little bit of trouble finding a copy of that one, but so if I can't find that one, maybe that's where Glory goes, because we realized we left out Glory. So
that'd work.
Might do
I might have
that
a
one.
line on how a way to get that, but if that's the place to put Glory, then maybe I won't even bother.
Yeah.
Because that works for me.
So I'll think about that. So January, I won't go into the rest of the year, but for right now, January of I was going to say 1989, but January of 2019 will be our 1989 movies, and January is an action-packed month. We are theming that month Action Heroes, so it's our Action Heroes month, starting with, Pat, what's the first movie?
89 Batman.
There you go, Batman 89. Week 2 of January will be Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Oh, Junior!
What is this Junior? That's his name, Henry Jones Jr. I prefer Indiana. We named the dog Indiana.
They're shooting at us. I know, Dad. It's a new experience for me. Happens to me all the time.
What about the boat? We're not going on the boat?
Forget the boat. What a perfect...
Dad, did they get us? Yes. I'm sorry, son. They got us.
I'm just going to say something stupid. What a great buddy.
Oh, yeah.
thing.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect. Harrison Ford and Sean Connery. Fantastic.
I hope they had as much
fantastic.
fun making it as we have watching it, because...
Yeah.
And had you told me back in the day, or even if you told me now, we're going to take an action franchise that people love, Indiana Jones, and we're going to make it a father-son story. Like if you took that same idea with a lot of movies today and said, hey, Jurassic Park, we're gonna make it a father-son thing. I'd just be like, oh, come on. No, I don't think so. And I don't. I mean, we didn't have the internet, so I don't know if anybody sat around back in 1988 and was like, oh, really, Indiana Jones' dad? That seems kind of dumb. But jumping the gun a little bit here, but it's probably it might be my favorite Indiana Jones movie. I got to decide. I have until January to decide if it's either that or Raiders of the Lost Ark. Week 3 is Lethal Weapon 2.
Excellent.
Week 4 is License to Kill. James Bond movie. The last Timothy Dalton one.
I was just gonna say, I'm like, my head just imploded.
I know
from the outside. I don't know what that even means.
And that's just January. And then there's a 5th week, so I got to decide if we do The Killer or if we do Glory, or I think maybe we can do Glory in that one. Well, if I take out The Killer, there's a hole there, so I can put Glory in it.
All I could think of was Lethal Weapon 2. When
Not even.
What?
No.
Nope.
Absolutely
Would you
not.
like-
You were not getting
Nope.
away with that joke. You horrible person.
I think it was going to be
I didn't say anything.
when he's sitting there.
Pat's trying to figure out what we're talking about now.
Yeah, I'm like lost. Like my brain. When you play this back, I'm gonna be like, that's like I'm lost in January, fellas. Sorry, I'm just like
on the microphone. You might be able to hear the gears grinding to a halt in Pat's brain. I don't know.
Like, because Batman.
You want to get nuts?
Where does he? Yeah,
Come on. Let's get nuts.
Get nuts.
Where does he get
Tell
this
me.
wonderful toy? I don't know.
You ever dance with the devil with the pale moonlight?
Oh.
I used to say that whenever John was in trouble, I'd say that all the time, and it wasn't until we watched that movie last week that he's like, that's where you got that from.
Yeah.
He stole my balloons! Why didn't somebody tell me he had one of those things?
This
Bob?
town needs an enema.
Bob? Gun. Sure, sir. Kablam!
That was also, the kids did not understand that sometimes when they would be like throwing a bit of a fit, I'd grab them on either side of the head or I'd grab them on the shoulders and be like, remember, you are my number one, a guy. And then we finally watched the movie and John's like, oh, that's where that's from. I don't think my kids think that I have like a creative bone in my body that I actually come up with things on my own. It's like they're just all from movies.
So we're in band and we were kind of teasing back and forth with the kids and we were having fun. It was going back and forth and this one kid, he has a school instrument and he's like in a joke and he says, yeah, you keep going, Mr. C. How about I just, drop this instrument, he's teasing about that. So I said, hey, I just got like, hey, you drop that instrument in a dream, you better wake up and apologize. And the kid was just like, oh. Like it just got serious all of a sudden. And the best part is, I don't think he would have seen Reservoir Dogs yet. Like he will at some point and just be like, oh, now I get it. But yeah.
And then, if we have an opportunity to do a bonus episode for January, that is January of 2019 is when the movie Glass comes out. So the third movie in the M. Night Shyamalan trilogy of Unbreakable.
Maybe that goes in your
Split
5th
Glass.
week, and
So-
then we find another place for Glory. Maybe that's the right answer.
So we'll see. I put that for the modern movies. I kind of put them as like a separate thing because sometimes we say we're going to get to them, and like Venom, we don't always get to them. So. And then again, I said I wasn't going to spoil any others, but the first 2 weeks of February I can't help it because you're going to like this one, and Jeff's going to love the other one.
Like them all.
The first one in February, Major League. Second one in February, Field of Dreams. So, the third one in February, The Wizard.
And you just keep your power gloves off. We need baseball people in the podcast.
If you will.
We need Jeff. I mean, Jeff needs to be for the Field of Dreams.
Yes.
So, yeah.
We need to get Dennis in here.
Dennis needs to be in here too.
We need to bring food. And
yeah. Well, that's how we're going to get Dennis in. So, all right. Well, that's going to do it for us this time. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Bo. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you, John.
So we're going to be back here next time, like I said, with Scrooged next week. Hopefully everybody had a lovely Thanksgiving and that you are enjoying
all prepped up for Christmas.
Full swing into the winter holidays, and hopefully you're not completely buried in snow.
Hopefully we're not completely
buried in snow. So, but yes, be excellent to each other. Go watch some good movies, and we'll see you back here next time for Scrooged.